basically, as a people, we have no resource, we have no source to draw from, being a people disassociated with our heritage. Because the strength of a people basically are the exploits or the different challenges or the different experience that your ancestors had, because that's where you learn from. You learn from those who came before you, and therefore we've been trying for the longest to explain to people who we really are, and that is the children of Israel. So we draw ours from a source called the Bible. That is our source and how we relate to the rest of our people. And we're trying to get people to understand that a lot of society's woes could be corrected from dealing with the Bible, which is basically our history book. And we were talking a little earlier, and we were talking about how the Jews right now stand in our office as a people. But it's been my experience, once you understand who you are and you would approach a person that's a Jew, they will come clean and tell you, yes, you are the children of Israel. And they know that they are not. And it's not a thing of trying to start an argument or debate. It's just the truth.
Right.
And if a person has a problem with that, that's their problem, because you have to tell the truth. Okay, so that's the basis of this show, is dealing with identity and the crisis once one doesn't understand their identity.
Right.
Shalom.
Shalom, Elder.
As Kazakiel was stating quite eloquently, this is our, I don't want to say history book, but this is our story. And how it relates to us. Because if you understand the circumstances and the things that happen, you'll see that nobody can fit into this picture like we do. I don't care at what time of history or whatever. Nobody fits the puzzle but us. So I'd like for you to turn in your Bibles to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. And I'm going to start reading at the 36th verse. But for those of you who've never read this, you should read from 1 to 68. But I'm going to start reading at 36 because this is important. We're talking about identity and the crisis that we as so-called African Americans, so-called black, Negro, colored, or whatever. And it's very significant. It says, Yahweh will bring you and the king whom you set over your nations, which neither you nor your fathers have known. And there you shall serve other gods, wood and stone. And you shall become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations where Yahweh will drive you. Now, those three words, astonishment. And astonishment is something that it's an awe, wondering. A proverb, that's something that's set. And a byword. A byword is anything anybody want to call you. Any name that comes up, you gravitate to that. You have attached that to yourself. African American, Negro. In the 60s, you were black and you was proud. Black is a color.
Black is a color.
It's not a people. When we talk about being the children of Yisrael, we're talking about that's our lineage, that's our heritage. We're not a religion. We want you to understand that. We're not a religion. We are the product of 12 brothers. We're the children of 12 brothers. That means all of us who are scattered throughout this world. They were a family.
Right.
It was 12 brothers and one sister. We don't talk about the sister that much, but to know that she existed. But we are that family, that remnant of that family. That's what we are. We're not a religion. We use this book because the Father gave us laws, statutes, and judgments, and all he asked us to do was to obey. We are to be the priests to the rest of the sons and daughters of Adam by adhering to the Father's word. Now, every religion takes a piece of what the Father gave us, and they create some type of entity, and they call it religion. But it really has nothing to do with the Father.
Right.
Because he didn't give it to them. He gave it to us. Again, let's skip down to the 64th verse. It says, then Yahweh will scatter you among all people from one end of the earth to the other. There you shall serve other gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known, wood and stone, reaffirming what I read earlier. And it says, and among those nations you shall find no rest, nor shall the soles of your foot have a resting place. But there Yahweh will give you a trembling of heart, failing of eyes, and anguish of soul. Your life shall hang in doubt before you. You shall fear day and night, and have no assurance of your life. Does that sound familiar to you?
Sound like a man.
If it don't, then I think you better listen more carefully. It says, in the morning you shall say, oh, that it were evening. And at evening you shall say, oh, that it were morning. Because of the fear which terrifies your heart.
Right.
And because of the sight which your eyes see.
Right.
And then it says, and Yahweh will take you back to Egypt in ships by a way which I say, you shall never see it again. And there you shall be offered for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. In other words, nobody, no man can save you. No man that has come along and tried to bring us along together to save us, no man can save us. Why? Because we belong to the Father.
Right.
And he said he was our exceedingly great reward. You got to understand what these scriptures are about, what this whole book is about. All of you who keep telling me, oh, I'm a Gentile. How can you be a Gentile when your forefathers came over on the same boat as mine?
Right.
Didn't we just read our history here? You were sold for male and female slaves. See, all of this refers to you, to bring you back to the Father. Because if you understand what Deuteronomy the 28th chapter is about, as well as Leviticus the 26th chapter, what they are about. They are about you being corrected. You were sent here for correction. You were not sent here to prosper. Didn't it tell you you will find no rest for the soles of your feet? If you go into reading the whole chapter, it'll tell you that you will become the tail and not the head.
Mm-hmm.
The stranger that sojourns among you will get high above you.
Mm-hmm.
Why? We have reaped what is called the curses. We've never had the benefits. Because, why? We have not learned yet. We haven't learned. We keep trying to serve other gods
Mm-hmm.
instead of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov or
That's
Jacob.
right.
There we go.
We haven't learned yet. We have a mission here. Our mission is to be the priest to the rest of the sons and daughters of Adam,
Mm-hmm.
to teach them how to live. But if you look up the word slave, a picture of one of us should be there.
It should be. We are the most classical example, the greatest example of slave, of what a slave is.
Yes, right.
Because there is no one in this world that is a greater example of a slave or of slaves or been slaves than us. We are the only people that have no idea where we came from.
That's it.
If you go, just walk throughout the highways and byways of America and ask any Caucasian, ask any white man, what is his nationality? What was the language of his fathers? Where did his family come from? They can tell you. Every single one can tell you. If you ask any Oriental, where did they come from? They're going to give you a country or a language. They have a way of giving us a connection. We are the only people that have no connection. Because if I walk up to you on the street and I ask you, black man, what country did your forefathers come from? Don't say Africa, because Africa is a continent.
Right.
What country? There's 55 different countries in Africa.
Correct.
What was the language of your forefathers? You're going to stand there and look at me like I'm crazy because you have no idea.
Right.
And all of those out there who don't believe us when we say that we are the children of Israel,
Right.
they have no answer.
Right.
At least we have an answer. What's your answer? If I ask you, who are we, where do we come from, what is your answer? You may say, you're quick to say, no, we're not, but you shut up when I say, well, who are we? I hear nothing. No comment from the peanut gallery then. See, because you've been taught that you're not all the days of your life, and you've been believing it.
Mm-hmm.
What's special about Deuteronomy 28 and 68 is that that's talking about a captivity. And what's special about it is that it talks about in the hull of ships.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about ships. And what's also special about it is that that particular captivity in verse 68 there, Elder, is talking about a nation of people.
Right.
What other people do you know that have been taken into captivity as a nation of people? Oh, sure, there have been white slaves.
Sure.
There have been all kinds of slaves. But I tell you what, you don't know any white slaves or any other kind of slaves other than us that were taken away as a nation of people.
That's right.
Because here in America, I assure you, what we have, the setup here,
Right.
is that we have a nation that is inside a nation.
Yes, we do.
And Yah never intended for us to be a nation, his nation, living in any other nation except our own,
That's it.
land-wise. Right now, this is where we are. Now, you know, unfortunately, we are a people who have no connection. But Yah told us that he would uproot us.
Yep.
Yah mentioned to us that he would uproot us.
Yeah.
And uprooting us meant that there would be, or he would leave no trace. But you know what? What we just read here, Elder, Yah says, I believe in verse 46, that for these things are signs.
That's it.
Right.
And they're wonder. Sign, what does a sign do? Signs tell you something.
Right.
When you see a sign, it tells you something.
Signal.
So that's what these particular verses here in 68, beginning with 15, 16 through 68,
Right.
these things are signs to us, telling us who we are in so many words, because I assure you, not only do these verses 16 through 68, tell us who we are, because there is no one else. Not people who will live over there who are the powers that be in Israel, or nor anyone else. These things that we read here, no one else fit this picture.
No, not at all.
When you start painting this or start putting this picture together, there is no one else that fit it but us, I assure you. And if you ever want to talk about it, we can sit down and talk about it. Long time.
Right.
We can do that, no problem. The fact is, you've never been fortunate enough to have a brother or sister or someone sit down with you and tell you and then show you. And I know that that a lot of you don't understand and have never experienced the things that we've experienced here. But I assure you, I myself have experienced many times engaging in conversation with rabbis and with people who call themselves Jews or Jewish people. They've admitted to my face who we are. I mean, not once, not twice, not 3 times, many times. But they do that only because what Kazakiel said earlier. If you know and understand who you are, if you can recite this Torah to them and explain to them who you are and who they are and who the people over there are for the majority or the powers that be that are in Israel today, if you explain that to them, then they will acknowledge the fact of who you are, I assure you. The only ones that won't are the ones who don't like giving and who don't want to believe it because they don't know any better. But I've experienced it many times. You haven't, but I have.
Right.
Because I assure you, if you tell one that you're a Christian, they ain't saying nothing. That's right, you're a Christian. If you tell one you are a Muslim, you're of Islam, that's what they're gonna say. You're fine. That's what you are. If you tell them you're a Lutheran, you're a Baptist, you're a Methodist or whatever, that's exactly what they're gonna agree to because they see where you are here and here. But if you tell them who you really are, and you know that you're Israel, and you tell them and you show them, they're going to understand it. And this is for anybody. This message is not just to our people. It's for anybody to hear, for anybody to say. And I tell you what, there is no one that can match this, that can match what we have to say about who we are because we have the information on who we are.
Yep.
We got that. So anyone that's feeling willing to challenge that, we can challenge anybody to that. And there's no problem with that at all.
Right.
You're gonna walk away from us scratching your head because now you're gonna see a side that you never saw before. And then and only then maybe you'll realize and understand that. But that's it.
Again, I want to read that Deuteronomy 28:46 that Elder talked about. It says, and they shall be upon you for a sign and a wonder, and on your descendants. See, this is what I want to get over. Descendants.
Right.
See, I've heard me, well, that was for then. No, it says your descendants forever. This is how we understand things.
Absolutely.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I was trying to give you a signal, letting you know that as soon as you get through, I was gonna take off where you left off
Go
and
right
show
ahead.
it where it's written. So,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go where Elder just finished. You finished?
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go to 2 Kings, the 22nd chapter. I'm gonna go to about 4 different places, but I'm gonna show you the significance. Now we're not up here talking about heritage in the physical sense. We are and we aren't, because that would be incomplete. Because that wouldn't be, we wouldn't be telling you the full, give you the full package of who we are. See, we can tell you who we are in the physical, but who we are is directly associated with a purpose and what is a thing we're supposed to do.
That's it.
Now go to 2 Kings, and I'm going to read something. It's very interesting. 2 Kings 22, 22nd verse. 22nd chapter, starting at the 22nd verse. Okay?
Go right ahead.
Right?
No, I'm sorry. 22nd chapter and the 3rd verse.
Okay.
All right, I'm sorry about that. Okay?
Go ahead.
Start at 3rd verse. And it came to pass in the 18th year of King Josiah that the king sent Shaphan, the son of Azaliah, the son of Meshullam, the scribe, to the house of Yahweh, saying, Go up to Hilkiah, the high priest, that he may reckon the amount of the silver which is brought into the house of Yahweh, which the keepers of the door have gathered of the people, and let them deliver it into the hand of the doers of the work, which have the oversight of the house of Yahweh. Now, this is talking about at the time when King Josiah was having Yahweh's temple repaired, because the previous king had, and previous kings had let it run down because they were serving other gods. So Josiah was commissioning the workers to rebuild the father's, or repair the father's temple. And let them give it to the doers of the work who are in the house of Yahweh to repair the breaches of the house. Okay, that's what I just was saying. Now, skip down to 8. And Hilkiah the high priest said unto Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of Yahweh. Now, mind you, you're saying, okay, this is talking about Israelites in the land of Israel being in the temple. He found the book of the law? Yeah, because the book of the law had been lost because there wasn't nobody in there doing Yah's service. So therefore, this particular generation didn't even know nothing about Yahweh.
That's it.
In the land of Israel. All right? It said, I'm going to read it again. It said, and Hilkiah the high priest said to Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of Yahweh. And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it. And Shaphan the scribe came to the king and brought the king word again, and said, Thy servants have gathered the money that was found in the house, and have delivered it into the hand of those who do the work, who have the oversight of the house of Yahweh. And Shaphan the scribe showed the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest hath delivered to me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the book of the law, he tore his clothes. And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam the son of Shaphan, and Ekbor, and the son of Micaiah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asayahu the king's servant, saying, Go ye and inquire of Yahweh for me, and for the people, and for all Yehudah, concerning the words of this book that is found, concerning the words of this book. Okay? For great is the wrath of Yahweh that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not hearkened unto the words of this book. That's where we at today.
Right.
To do according to all that which is written concerning us. So this king, finding out who he was, he already knew he was an Israelite, but he found out that him being an Israelite, there was a mission, or that was a commission, so to speak, attached to him and his heritage. Now, that's the significance that I was trying to point out about us as a people, an identity crisis.
Right.
See, we have this identity crisis that's directly affecting our spirituality and our reason for not being able to come up as a people.
That's
we don't
correct.
have the ability to come to the table of the nations of the world and show our petition and have people to honor it because we don't even have a heritage to bring.
That's right.
Because with our heritage also comes the Most High
Yeah.
to fight our battle.
That's
Now,
it.
go to Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter. So we're going to go back.
Yep.
The 23rd chapter. But just to show you, when Josiah found out how important it was for him to adhere to that book, because just him knowing he was an Israelite wasn't good enough.
Nope.
He had to also attach what was to happen or what was to become of Israel once he read the book. See, we as a people have to associate this book with our everyday life because that's how we come about. And I'm going to read that when we go to Exodus, but we're going to go to Deuteronomy 23 right now. Deuteronomy 23, starting the 21st verse. Let's read it. When thou shalt vow a vow unto Yahweh the Elohim, thou shalt not be slack to pay it. For Yahweh thy Elohim will surely require it of thee, and it will be sin in thee. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee. That which is gone out of thy lips thou shalt keep and perform. Even a freewill offering according to as that has vowed unto Yahweh the Elohim, which thou hast promised with thy mouth. Now, go to Exodus, the 24th chapter. And we're going to show you our plight. Exodus 24. Exodus 24, started the 3rd verse. And Moshe came and told the people all the words of Yahweh, and all the ordinances of all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Yahweh have said we will do.
Right.
Now we just read in Deuteronomy, it says, that which is going out of thy lips thou shalt keep and perform it, even a freewill offering according to as thou hast vowed unto Yahweh the Elohim, which has promised with thy mouth. That's what got us in the situation we in now. Because that vow that was made here in Exodus came back to bite us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Now, this I said that to say, when you see the plight of our people, that's basically because we don't understand the spiritual significance that goes behind the blood that flows in our veins, okay? The blood that flows in our veins is a blood that was commissioned by the Most High and set aside as to be a nation of priests.
Correct.
So when you see us going a certain way as a people and we're not being blessed, as you may see other people being blessed, you see other people come in our neighborhood and prosper, and you've been there all your life, and you can't get enough money together to open up a lemonade stand,
Yeah, right.
you got problems with that.
Right.
But remember, you got to go to this book to really find out what your plight is,
Yeah.
because that's where it lies.
Yep.
The reason, okay, when Elder was reading about Deuteronomy and coming in the hulls of ships, that's how you can determine who we are. That didn't happen to nobody else.
Right.
Okay. Now, us coming in the hulls of ships, a light should go on in your head. Then nobody else come here kicking and screaming as property.
Right.
At one time, we were chattel, we were property.
Yep.
Therefore, that should signal you into saying, well, wait a minute, something ain't right. Let me pay attention. Let me go back as I just went back, I went all the way back from the time of Josiah, all the way back to the law, all the way back when the law was first given.
That's it.
To show where a vow was made and it was broken.
Yeah.
So even up until the time of Josiah, once he found out where that vow was broken, he immediately cleaned it up and said, wait a minute, we got to do what's prescribed in this book pertaining to my people.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what people don't understand. When our forefathers answered and said all that Yah say we will do and be obedient to, they not only answered for themselves, but they answered for you too.
That's right.
Huh?
That is true.
And that's the significance of this. What they adhere to, you must adhere to.
Right.
Because that's where your, shall I say, prosperity lies.
Right.
That's in that, in doing the work that was set out for you to do. See, this is a work. This is a job that you have. You've been commissioned by the Father to take his word to the rest of the sons and daughters of Adam by you being the walking example. They talk about Hamashiach and don't really understand Hamashiach. Just as our forefathers failed, Hamashiach came to revive the next line of forefathers back to this same thing. So that the work that Hamashiach doing, we're doing. Because that's our job. To bring the rest of the sons and daughters of Adam to the Father. Now, if you want to be brought kicking and screaming, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But if you want to be brought to where you can understand this, I have no problem with that either.
Right.
Because I'm going to get the blood off my hand.
Very good.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
I'm not going to let it be on my head and on my children's head.
Right. If we be the children of Israel and we be in this book, then somewhere in this book, our captive should be in there as well,
Yeah.
which is America. Now, we know that the children of Israel not only in captivity in America, but in all four corners of the earth. But we just happen to be the part in America that went by way of ship.
Right.
So I want to read something out of the scriptures that shows America's identity, because a lot of scholars stay away from this. Because if you identify America in the scriptures, you identify us.
Yeah.
Because when we was taken away, led captive by way of ship, America was one of the main ones who did that. Go with me to Isaiah 47. I'm just going to read a few verses out of Isaiah and in Micah. This is 47 and verse 1. And it reads, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." Now we see that this person is being described as the daughter of Babylon. So this is not Babylon itself, which would be today Iraq.
Right.
This says the daughter of Babylon. Spiritually speaking, that's America.
Right. Virgin daughter.
The virgin daughter of Babylon. Okay? Verse 2, it says, "Take the millstone and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare thy leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the river." He says, "Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yeah, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man." Okay, skip down to verse 6. And now we're going to see how we come into play with this daughter of Babylon. He says, "I was wroth or angry with my people. I have polluted my inheritance." And that confirmed what Brother Kazakiel just said. The Father said that he was angry with his people, and he had polluted his inheritance and given them into their hands. Who? America. Giving us into the hands of the Americans. Thou didst show them no mercy upon the old. It says, and has laid very heavy yokes upon them. Now that confirms with Deuteronomy 28, with laying the iron yokes. I mean, anybody that knows history know what the Americans had did to us in this country by disrespecting the old and the young and laying heavy yokes upon us, the daughters of Babylon. Now go with me to the book of Micah. Just want to confirm even the more that we be the children of Israel in the Americas. Because there's never been atrocity such as great as this one and not been recorded. This slavery that we went through in America, it's been recorded and it's right here in the scriptures. Look at Micah, the 5th chapter and 7th verse, and it reads, it says, and the remnant, the descendants of Israel, Jacob, shall be in the middle of many people, as a dew from Yah, as the showers upon the grass that tarried not for men, nor waited for the stones of men. Verse 8, and the remnant, or the descendants of Israel, shall be among the Gentiles, in the middle of many people. Now we are the children of Israel in the Americas.
Yep.
In the midst of many people.
Yes, we
Now,
are.
you can clearly see that these are futuristic prophecies that has come to pass, that the prophecies told concerning us and what we will be. The Father was angry with us. He polluted his inheritance. He put us in the hands of who? The Gentiles, the sons of Japhet,
Right.
the Americans.
Right.
He put us in their hands, and they didn't regard the young or the old. And they laid heavy yoke upon our necks, and they enslaved us for over 400 years in the Americas. So that's another way that I want to show our identity via scriptures.
Right.
I believe Shaul, or who we often refer to as Paul, was Israelite. Was that right?
Correct.
Now, I also believe he was from the tribe of Benjamin. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, I know that at some point in the Bible here, we know that Shaul, a few times, oftentimes, was taken away and taken to jail. We know that. Also, I believe that if Shaul was an Israelite, and we profess that and say that Israelites were people of color as we are, and we know that the Israelites were of different shades and different colors. Okay? And we are of shades and different colors.
Correct.
Scripture says, and we'll find that in a minute, but if you can find that for me over, I'm going to keep going. And then what I'm referring to is that the Scripture says in the Tanakh, or the Old Testament, that we are like a speckled bird. Isn't that what the Father said that? The Father said that Israel is like a speckled bird. Now, a speckled bird, that's simply saying that Israel, or the people of Israel, the children of Israel, were various shades of different colors. Correct. Absolutely correct. All right, now, getting back to Paul. In the book of Acts, in one of the incidents that took place when Shaul was, I believe he was captured, or he was taken away as a prisoner, I believe it was. I believe Shaul was taken away as a prisoner by a Roman, I believe it was a Roman soldier. Is that right, Ella?
Right.
Shaul was asked if he was an Egyptian. All right, but let's find that. Let's go to Acts, and let's go to the 21st chapter of Acts. All right, it says here, beginning with verse 37. It says the subtitle here is addressing the Jerusalem mob. It says, then Paul was about to be led into the barracks. He said to the commander, may I speak to you? And then he replied, that is the guard here, or the commander here, replied, can you speak Greek? Obviously, the guard here, or the commander here, was surprised because Shaul must have, or Paul must have spoken to him in Greek. And this commander was astonished because he asked him something, and he asked him in Greek. So his reply in astonishment was, can you speak Greek? He says, are you, and this is what the commander asked Paul, are you not the Egyptian, underline that word, Egyptian, who some time ago stirred up a rebellion and led 4,000 assassins out into the wilderness? So the commander is thinking that Shaul or Paul is an Egyptian. Now, if we know the color of Egyptians, we know that the Egyptians are what? People of color. And right. True Egyptians are really very, very dark. And especially they were very, very dark before Alexander the Great conquered Egypt.
Yep. So
we see here that commander thought that Shaul or Paul was an Egyptian. Because it's right here in verse 38. Are you not the Egyptian who some time ago stirred up a rebellion and led 4,000 assassins out into the wilderness? So what did Shaul say to verify the fact that he was an Israelite? He said, but Paul said, or Shaul said, I am a what? I am a Jew from Tarsus in Sicily, a citizen of no mean city, and I implore you, permit me to speak to the people. All right. Let's go down here in 40, and it says, so when he had given him permission, Paul stood on the stairs and motioned with his hand to the people. And when there was a great silence, he spoke to them in the what? In the Hebrew language, saying. Now, if Paul was an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin,
right,
that tells us that they look like Egyptians, because the commander thought that Shaul was what? An Egyptian. All right, so from his physical appearance, he was a person of color.
Correct.
So are we a people of color?
Yes,
Last time I checked, we are. So here is just one example. If we look at the example of Moses, Moses was a Levite, different tribe, but tribe of Israel. He was raised in the house of what? Raised in the house of Egypt.
Yes, he was.
Guess what? No one knew that Moshe or Moses was a Hebrew until it was told to them. Why? Because apparently the what? The Egyptians and the what? Israelites had something in common.
Correct.
And what was that? It was a what? It was a color. Their color was the same. If it was not the same, they would have obviously known that he was not what? An Egyptian. But they didn't know it. Because if Moses spent 40 years in Egypt, 40 in Egypt, 40 in the wilderness, okay? And another 40 years he died at what? At 120 years old. Yeah. So we see that first 40 years of his life, this brother was in Egypt. No one really knowing who he was.
And they sent them, remember now, the Father sent the Messiah to hide in Egypt.
Exactly.
So evidently, if he looked anything other than Right, other than an Egyptian
That's right.
or one of color,
That's right.
he would have stood out like
right.
a sore thumb.
That's right.
But I'm going to read, Elder, what you mentioned. It's Jeremiah. I'm going to start at, it's Jeremiah the 12th chapter, but I'm going to start at verse 7. It says, I have forsaken my house. This is Yahweh talking. I have left my heritage. He said, I have given the dearly beloved of my soul into the hands of her enemies. He says, my heritage is to me like a lion in the forest. It cries out against me. Therefore I have hated it. Then it says, my heritage is to me like a speckled vulture. It says, the vultures all around are against her. Come assemble all the beasts of the field. Bring them to devour. Now, the Father was angry with us.
Right.
Why was he angry with us? Because we refused to do the simple thing he asked us to do.
Right.
Be obedient. Huh? What we as a people said we would do. Huh? We would what? Be obedient and do. And we refused to do that. We began to serve idols and other gods. So the Father had to punish us.
Absolutely.
He had, see, remember now, the Father's words cannot fall to the ground.
Not so.
Lord.
Right.
It does not work that way.
Right.
And a lot of people say, well, I wouldn't want to serve no God like that, that'll punish his people like that. But hey, the Father only chastises you because he loves you.
But you ain't got no choice in the matter.
That's it.
Nothing happening. You ain't got to worry nothing. See, I ain't mean to cut you off.
That's
Elder.
all right.
Just
Go
hold that
ahead.
thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I was moved by what you just said.
Yeah.
You ain't got no choice in the matter. It don't matter if you believe you Israel.
Right.
You still gonna catch the woes and the fury that the Father has for Israel.
That's
you don't
it.
have to believe you Israel.
Right.
You didn't. I mean, you have no knowledge of why you even here.
That's it.
Our ancestors that was on the west coast of Africa, one day they parted the weeds and came through that brush, and the next thing they knew, they was chained up.
Yeah.
They didn't know what was going on,
No, they didn't.
and they was carried off and brought here.
That's it.
But the Father had already told that this was to come.
That's
Right.
it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So here in America, it don't matter if you don't believe. It don't matter if you don't believe that we the children of Israel and you don't want to serve a God that mean. It's
That's
just
it.
too
It
bad.
ain't
That's
based
it.
on that.
That's right.
It's already written.
It's already written.
Already written.
That's why we here and we speak a bastard language and carry other people's names.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Right. Tell them.
Yep. We iterating.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Turn to Isaiah.
Heard you.
Elder, what you do?
Yeah, go on.
You want to go back?
Oh, no, I
Okay, go to Isaiah,
Fine.
the 5th chapter. Folks talking about they don't want to serve.
Yeah.
How you sound?
That's what they tell me.
I mean, how you sound? Okay, not understanding that you are disassociated with your original heritage.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, to a point to where you have had your subconscious redefined.
Wiped out.
Yep. Dumbed down.
You can't think an original thought.
Nope.
Because the people who brought you here, you emulate them. From the crown of your head to the soles of your feet.
And they stole your identity.
That's true too. But at the same time, you have nowhere to draw from because you don't know who you are.
Right.
You have no understanding of who you are. Okay,
Very good point.
let me read Isaiah 5th chapter, starting at the 8th verse. It said, woe unto them who join house to house, who lay field to field, till there is no place that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth, meaning not being distinguishable. House to house, meaning you just join your house. It looks like other people's house because you have nothing to distinguish you from anybody else.
Right.
Sojourners.
Okay? In mine ears, saith Yahweh of hosts, of a truth many houses shall be desolate, even great and fair without inhabitant.
Right.
Skip to 11. It say, woe unto them who raise up early in the morning. And tell me who this sound like.
Yeah.
Let me read it again. Tell me who this sound like. Woe unto them who raise up early in the morning that they may follow strong drink, who continue until night,
Yep.
till wine inflames them,
Yeah.
and the harp and the lute and the tremble and the flute and wine are in their feet. Talking about partying and dancing to music.
Yep.
Yeah.
I ain't stereotyping nobody.
No.
Hey,
Only thing I'm bringing out is the fact that we've been doing this for thousands of years.
it's right here written.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's very
We
much
love
right.
to party all the time.
Yep.
All right?
Take that wine.
But they regard not the work of Yahweh,
That's it.
neither consider the operations of his hands. Therefore, many people are going into captivity. That's what happened to us.
Right.
Because we lost our stature, or we lost our office, and we lost our way, not being able to get back to the Most High. That's why I brought out Josiah. When he found out what the book entailed for us, he tore his clothes.
Yeah.
And immediately he changed his ways. Well, I ain't gonna say he changed his ways, but Josiah, he headed out from the beginning to do the right thing before he even read the book. But he changed his people's ways.
Right.
13, therefore many people are going into captivity because they have no knowledge. I'm going to read that again. Therefore many people are going into captivity because they have no knowledge,
Right.
and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Therefore Sheol, or the grave, have enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure. And their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoices shall descend into it.
Yep.
So all I'm simply saying is, we spend more time partying and doing stuff that's trivial.
Right.
Okay, all you got to do is turn on one of them shows about us in church. You ever seen one of them shows?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Every day.
And you see these shows, and we flipping and skipping and jumping up and down aisles, beating on tambourines, but not truly understanding how to contact the Most High.
That's it.
Right.
And we the people of the Most High.
Right.
And people actually, we entertain people. Now check this out.
Yep.
That's supposed to represent us on how we contact the Most High.
Right.
But that's entertainment to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
That's all.
That's
it is.
all.
Mere entertainment.
On these very same airway we on now.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to read this
That's what it is.
right quick.
Good point.
Jeremiah, the 4th chapter, starting at verse 22. It says, for my people are foolish. They have not known me. They are silly children, and they have no understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge.
That's right.
Then turn back to Jeremiah, the 3rd chapter, verse 1. It says, they say, if a man divorces his wife and she goes from him and becomes another man's wife, may he return to her again? Would not the land be greatly polluted?
That's right. That's in the law.
But you have played the harlot with many lovers. Yet return to me, says Yahweh. That's all we have to do as a people. Return to the Father.
See, that's why so many campaigns and so many protests have failed.
Right. It's not going to work.
You see what I'm saying? Because the Father is not in the midst of it.
No.
Right.
He never brought the Father, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on. The Father's name have never reigned out of the lips of any of these leaders.
No.
You see what I'm
They
saying?
don't know it.
Because they don't know, but at the same time, just think back. years ago when they were protesting and marching.
Right.
Okay, then you hear many people say, well, we in the same predicament.
Right.
It's just been rearranged.
That's all.
I mean, racism is still racism, but now it's silent.
Yep.
It's a so-called invisible racism, but it still exists.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, the Father's name have never been brought to the forefront
Right.
regarding our situation. Because we don't know it, like you said, Elder.
Right.
Because we don't know who we are.
Yeah.
That's the identity crisis.
That's it.
Because anytime Israel was in trouble,
They call on the Father.
they called on the Father
And
on
he
what?
saved
With one
them.
accord.
That's it. And he saved them.
We come together as a people, and you got people calling on Buddha,
Yep.
calling on Jehovah,
Yeah.
calling on Allah, calling on every different God under the sun.
Right.
Yeah.
But we can't do it on one accord.
No,
Right.
we can't.
You see what I'm saying? And that's part of our downfall as a people.
Right.
Yeah.
Even some of us brothers that is conscious still calling on the God of our slave master.
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't understand we was brought to this country on slave ships, and one of them was called the Ship of
The
Jesus.
good ship,
yeah,
Jesus.
Good ship-
That's what it's called.
Right, I think it was 1562.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the ships and the doctrine of the slave master, we still calling on his God.
Yeah.
So that hasn't, if we won't change, we all have to call on the Father with one consent, just like you said.
Yeah.
So that's why we're so adamant about doing these shows.
Yeah.
And we try to explain who the Father's name, the Son's name, because
Very important.
it's directly connected to us as a people.